Watchman is actually the book that when she left home and went up to New York to write, that's actually the book she wrote, is Go Set a Watchman.
That came first.
Mockingbird evolved during the editing process. So
Yes.
what's landing this summer is the first book that she wrote,
Yes.
that she turned into her editors at Lippincott.
Yes.
But it's in the center of all this controversy because of this. She was like, I'm not going to publish another book.
Right.
And then suddenly her sister, who was her longtime caretaker, practiced law until she was 100.
Yes.
She becomes ill, and then there's this story of how this manuscript was sort of miraculously found.
I know. I've been telling audiences for years that there was a second novel out there, but if it were ever going to be published, it would be published after her death. And lo, here comes a book during her lifetime. This is like attending your own funeral.
Well, the creation story that the attorney tells is just sort of fabulous in the literal sense, is that she was newly taking over Miss Lee's affairs, was going through some things. It sounds like some old papers, perhaps a safe deposit book, and lo, comes across this manuscript with Go Set a Watchman on the title.
Who'd have thunk it?
What is this?
Yeah. And Alice said that it had been stolen. Alice, 20 years ago, was asked what happened to the manuscript or the novel that Harper Lee was working on, a second novel, supposedly.
Right.
And her sister Alice said, oh, we had a break-in and it was stolen. Somebody made off, this is me talking, somebody made off with a ream of paper.
Right.
No, that was deposited in the law offices of what were at one time Bug, Barnett, and Lee.
Right.
And it's been there all this time. And now that Alice Lee is gone, the figurative skeleton key has been found. And
so what happened? Do you think that this was that Nell, Miss Lee, always wanted it published, and with when Alice wasn't in charge anymore, she said, and maybe her lawyer presented it to her and said, hey, let's show this to some people. What do you think happened there?
Well, there's always been, as is typical in all families, a sibling competition there. Alice was a very conservative woman and about 17 years older than her younger sister. And as a result, she saw herself as surrogate parent. And Nell was always extroverted and a little bit bohemian in her opinions and her appearance. And Alice, for all of her life, served as the buffer between her younger sister and the world that was hungry to know more about her.